Today, The Voice is supporting Proud of Southwark. Proud of Southwark is an event which aims to basically help communities engage with other authorities to discuss the issue of gun gangs and knife crime. Here with Shaun Wallace, who is the facilitator of today's panel. Why is it so important for you to have this kind of panel discussion?
It's always important because, as I say, over the last 10 or so years, you've seen an increasing number of deaths of young black people in particular in terms of gun and knife crime. And more importantly, it's important that a community-led solution is trying to help eradicate such a problem.
I would like to take the opportunity to introduce you to our panel. Peter John, the leader of Southwark Council. Wayne Chance, Southwark Borough Commander. We have Grace Aduru. Grace lives in Southwark, and Grace lost her son, David Aduru. David used to go to this school. Grace has come out today to speak to her community. Southwark is Grace's community. Junior is a youth SOS gang leader. He now works with young people. George Ruddock, Managing Director of The Voice newspaper, has come out, taken time out to talk to Southwark from a media perspective on his views. Janet Barrett, she is Deputy Chair of the Metropolitan Black Police Association. Once again, I'd like to thank you, Janet, thank all of the panellists.
It's this very, very important event, proud to be in Southwark. It's a very, very important debate that we're having so far as knife, gun and gang culture. It's a blight in our society, which, as I say, has affected us all. And as Brian's already introduced, we have somebody who clearly has been directly affected so far as the dramatic effects of gun and gang crime, which clearly is a cancer in our society.
And that's why I get really cross when the vast majority over 3 years of the young people that I have met have no association with gangs, may have become victims of gangs, and have no intention of becoming gang members, and actually are really good kids, good young people that actually want out there and make a difference and not get involved. That when elements of the media then portray Southwark as gangland Southwark, I get really, really cross about that, because there's more good in this bar than there is bad.
I think one of the things that we learnt following the disorders that happened in August this year, and I don't think Southwark is unusual in this, is that there was almost like an overwhelming cry from the young people out across London, but also in Southwark, to be listened to find out from them what were some of the issues that perhaps potentially meant that they got caught up in all the disorder as well.
Groups of other people coming onto our area. At that point, that was Haygate, that was Bermondsey, that was Old Kent Road, that was Brixton, and we were just basically having to deal with it. The problem with that kind of scenario is that when you're bound by a friendship, that it doesn't necessarily have to be you that has beef with the next man, it can be your friends. And then suddenly you're drawn into their beef, you're drawn into their situation, even if it has nothing to do with you in the first place. But I am quick to say that not all young people that are involved in gangs, they could just be groups, but the way the perception is at the moment is that they are in fact in a gang, and that just kind of like reinforces it.
I think everybody's got a responsibility. I think we can play the name game, we can play the blame game, we can blame parents, blame music, blame poverty, blame deprivation, but to me, all that seems to do is create a barrier to people taking action. I think we need to get talking. I think people, parents, young people, we need to get talking about the difficult issues and what's going on. And young people need to be able to feel comfortable enough that they can come out and ask questions and get the help if they need it.
Is that the parents are concerned that their children are getting involved. Once they leave the house, they're getting involved in what is gang culture, and that is so classified by the press and by communities and other groups, and that there's a certain amount of peer pressure being put on them once they leave the home, which is out of their control, for their children to then become involved in gangs, for want of a better word. So yes, in short, it appears that there is things that happen within the community which are out of like the community control and parents' control, which are affecting our young people.
The loss of David to my family, to my community, to Southwark Borough as a whole, it did affect us a lot. And as a family, it's just too painful to bear. It's too painful. The loss of David is too painful to bear. 3 years gone now, it's just like yesterday. When I came in here today, going around this school, I can see how beautiful this school is. And David hasn't got that opportunity to see this new building. It's really hard. No, there's nothing we can compare the losing of a child to in any pain. We can't compare it. It's a pain that you cannot express. It's a pain that you cannot sit down, you can't express it. No, you can't.
I moved from Peckham to get away from the gangs many years ago. My son was murdered by a gang in Surrey. 3 young men went to prison for life. I met one of them a month and a half ago, and his definition of a gang was very different, as you were explaining. He said he wasn't in the gang, but he hanged around with them. And he called himself a coward. And he said, I'm now 25. And he said, I went on a restorative justice course in prison because I spent the first 2 years denying my involvement in prison. But the minute I did that, I realised who my victim was. And I saw him, I saw his face. And it changed my life.
The council, we've had a community conversation since the disturbances in August to try and understand why some people reacted in the way that they did, and others, went out and looted, etc. And the reasons coming back are so many and varied, from parenting, from mentoring, from employment opportunities, and I think that is an absolutely key issue. I think as a society, we've got to move to a point where our aspiration is that everyone has a job.
If you talk about social housing, there's some estates which has big signs up there, no ball playing here, so kids can't play. Then you also have the facilities which are broken down and so on. So there's nothing for the young kids to do. And then that's when they end up when they congregate as groups. And that's when the peer pressure comes in. And that's when young people get driven into these type of things.
A lot of it does start from home because it is about directing your kids in the right way and trying to push them to realise that at the end of the day there's other ways out there. There's other things out there for young people to do.
One of the things that a lot of the young kids tell us is, you've got an event that takes place today either provided by the services, by the police or by social services or the council, and then by next week or the week after it's finished, so there's no continuity. Now we've got the cuts. What happens? Kids end up on the street. You've got all the senior residents in the estate who turn around and say, okay, do you know what, we've got the kids on the street, we don't want them on the street. What happens next? They give them NASBO. They're not allowed to hang around in certain places. So the question is, where do the kids go? I mean, I'm sure a lot of us who are from the older generation had adventure playgrounds where we could go to, where we could burn up energy. These kids don't have anywhere to burn up energy. And as somebody said earlier on before, when you look at hopes and aspirations, the question is, we're talking about mass unemployment. What do these kids do? We're not upskilling them or training them to get future jobs that will come up in the future when the economy changes.
The people in charge of the household, they're not feeding the rest of the family right. So sometimes my clients who have younger siblings have to go out and commit crime just to make money to feed their brothers and sisters. So sometimes the parents' lack of looking after their kids can make the child get into gangs.
I just was speaking to people from one of the London papers called the Evening Standard. A lot of them are not open on a Friday evening. They're not open on a Saturday. They're not open on a Sunday. When do young people most often want to go somewhere where they can be constructive? And I see people from the youth service around who know the school. It's actually as much on a Friday evening. And quite a lot of these clubs close at 8:39. Well, that's fine. But on a Friday night, which doesn't have a school day the next day, actually 15-year-olds don't go to bed at 9 o'clock. Sorry about that, but they don't. And so we need to make sure that the offer by the youth service is more productive and relevant to young people.
I'm here with Mohammed Chow, 5-time national champion and Great Britain representative in Taekwondo internationally, who is also hoping to compete in the 2012 London Olympics. Mohammed, tell me, why is it you've come out today to support Proud of Southwark and a look at finding measures to to tackle guns, gangs and knife crime?
Well, I think it's quite important with the young people these days, how they're growing up on a development stage and seeing what they want to achieve in the near future. I strongly support this kind of type of group coming here to try to actually open the eyes of the public to what the young people are up to, and actually trying to give them advice or what type of structure they can actually follow to become a better person.
Mrs. Iduboy, why is it so important to have events such as these?
It is very important to have this kind of event, most especially in Southwark, because Southwark have got a name that if you mention you're living in Southwark, it's as if you're living in a ghetto. People believe Southwark is a ghetto. Southwark is a nice place to live. I've been living here for the past 20 years. It is a nice place to be, and it's very close to the central London. We have every beautiful places around us in Southwark. So, and I live in Southwark, I work in Southwark. Anyone that live in Southwark, maybe you're working in Southwark, you're not living here, you have to stand up for Southwark. You have to make Southwark proud. You know, Southwark is not a bad place to live, and it's not a bad place to be. And it's only minority of people that are behaving bad, which we can find in any other side of the borough in the country. Yes. So
in terms of your message to communities, in terms of coming out and doing more to fight guns, gangs and knife crime, what would you say to them?
Yeah, this should be everyone's responsibility. Individually, whether you're working, you're living in Southwark, we should come out to fight against knife and gun crime. Our children are dying. You know, our children are going to prisons. So you need to come out. We need to see reality of it.
Thank you for watching.